The match flared like a gunshot in the quiet of the Kansas summer night, its orange tongue licking the corner of the first letter before grandmother's arthritic fingers let it drop into the rusted metal barrel. Lucas froze in the doorway of the old farmhouse kitchen, the screen door creaking shut behind him like a final plea, as the words he'd poured his 17-year-old heart into. Daniel, you're the only map I need in this flatland maze, curled black and vanished into smoke. That's the end of your foolishness, boy, she said, her voice a gravelly hymn from a lifetime of Baptist pews, eyes unblinking as the fire claimed the stack, one by one, sealing away the boy who'd made Lucas believe in forever. He didn't cry then, not in front of her, not with the acrid stench of burning paper choking the air like regret. Instead, he turned and bolted up the creaking stairs to his room, slamming the door so hard the plaster dust sifted down like ash. Outside, the prairie wind whispered through the cornfields, carrying echoes of Daniel's laugh from that afternoon by the creek, where they'd stolen kisses under the willow's green veil, promising college in Lawrence together, away from the judgmental stares of Hayes. But now, those promises were cinders, and grandmother's Bible thumped open on the counter below, her murmured prayers a ward against the devil she saw in her grandson's love. Lucas collapsed onto his bed, the springs groaning under him like an old man's confession. He could still smell Daniel on his flannel shirt, the faint tang of motor oil from his part-time gig at the auto shop, mixed with the sweet earthiness of creek mud. They'd been careful, God, so careful. Notes passed in the high school hallway, hidden picnics in the back of Daniel's beat-up Ford pickup, dreams scribbled in the dark. Daniel, with his tousled chestnut hair and eyes like storm clouds over the Flint Hills, had been Lucas's rebellion against the straight-laced world of wheat harvests and Friday night football. But grandmother had found the letters in his sock drawer that morning, her raid as methodical as her quilting, and now they were gone. All of them. By dawn, the house felt like a tomb. Lucas slipped out before the roosters crowed, pedaling his bike the 5 miles to Daniel's trailer on the edge of town. The sun was a blood-orange smear on the horizon when he arrived, knocking softly on the aluminum door. Daniel answered in boxers and a faded Cubs tee, sleep-rumpled and beautiful, pulling Lucas inside without a word. They tumbled onto the lumpy couch, hands frantic, lips desperate, as if touch could rebuild what fire had destroyed. She burned them, Lucas whispered finally, voice breaking against Daniel's neck. Every single one. Daniel's arms tightened, his breath hot and ragged. Then we'll write more. We'll burn the whole damn world down if we have to. But even as he said it, doubt flickered in his eyes, the same doubt that had shadowed their summer. When Daniel's dad, a burly ex-Marine with a beer gut and a homophobic streak wider than the Arkansas River, had started asking too many questions about why his son was wasting time with that sissy Lucas from the farm. They didn't know it then, but that morning marked the fracture. Grandmother's act wasn't just destruction. It was a declaration of war on the life Lucas dared to dream. She waited for him at supper that evening, the table set with fried chicken and cornbread as if nothing had happened, her silver hair pinned back like a crown of thorns. "Sit," she commanded, and he did, fork trembling in his hand. "I did it for your soul, Lucas. That boy's poison, leading you straight to hell. Your granddaddy and I built this land with God's grace. Not that abomination." He wanted to scream, to hurl the plate at her unyielding face, but the words stuck like burrs in his throat. Instead, he ate in silence, the food turning to lead in his stomach. That night, he snuck out again, meeting Daniel at their spot by the creek. They lay on the bank, stars pricking the velvet sky, and talked until the words ran dry. "I'm enlisting," Daniel said suddenly, his voice a knife twist. "Marines. Gets me out of here, pays for school. We can wait 2 years, tops." Lucas's heart plummeted. "Wait, Danny. She's never gonna let this go." But Daniel kissed him fierce, tasting of rebellion and river water. And for a moment, Lucas clung to the lie that distance would heal rather than hollow them. The next weeks blurred into a haze of stolen moments. School started. Football practices where Daniel shone under the lights like some golden idol, and Lucas buried himself in books, dreaming of journalism at KU. But grandmother watched like a hawk, her suspicions a noose tightening. She rifled his pockets, checked his phone logs, once even followed him to the library, where he'd pretended to study while Daniel waited in the stacks. The confrontation came on a crisp October afternoon, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle bones. She cornered him in the barn, pitchfork in hand, not raised, but a prop of authority. "I saw you with him yesterday. At the diner." Holding hands under the table like common trash. Her voice cracked then, revealing the fear beneath the fury. Fear of scandal in their tight-knit community. Of losing the farm's respect. Of her own unspoken regrets from a youth stifled by the same small-town piety. "Mama," Lucas pleaded, using the endearment she hadn't heard since he was small. "It's not trash. It's love. Real as this dirt we're standing on." She laughed, bitter as burnt coffee. "Love? Boy, love don't defy the Lord. It submits." And with that, she tore the last letter from his pocket, the one Daniel had slipped him that morning, a simple "meet me at dusk. Forever yours," and struck a match from the pack in her apron. The flame danced, devouring the paper before Lucas could lunge. "Pack your things tonight. You're going to live with your aunt in Wichita. School transfer. And if you ever contact that boy again, I'll disown you faster than Judas kissed Christ." He left at midnight, duffel bag slung over his shoulder, the farmhouse shrinking in the rear view of his cousin's borrowed truck. Daniel waited at the edge of town, but Lucas couldn't face him, couldn't bear the goodbye. He texted once, from a burner phone, "Forgive me." Burn bright. Then he deleted the number, the app, every trace, as the highway unspooled into the dark. Wichita was a bigger cage, all concrete and anonymity, but no less confining. Aunt Clara, childless and widowed, took him in with brisk efficiency, enrolling him in the urban high school where he blended into the multicultural throng. He dated a girl once, Emily, with braces and a laugh like wind chimes, but it felt like play acting in a school production. His nights were spent writing, journalism club articles that skirted the edges of truth, poems he burned himself before dawn. Daniel's face haunted him in dreams, morphing from boy to soldier to ghost. Letters came sporadically at first, forwarded by a sympathetic postman back home. Daniel scrawled notes from boot camp in Paris Island, full of bravado and ache. "Miss your hands on me, Luke. This drill sergeant's got nothing on your fire." But grandmother intercepted them, or so Lucas suspected when they stopped arriving. He wrote back anyway, mailing to a P.O. box Daniel had mentioned, but silence swallowed them whole. By graduation, the wound had scabbed over into scar tissue. Lucas aced his SATs, won a partial ride to the University of Kansas, and left Wichita without looking back. Lawrence welcomed him with its liberal haze, coffee shops buzzing with activists, Dorm rooms alive with hookups that blurred lines of gender and grief. He came out fully there, first to a roommate who shrugged and offered a joint, then to the campus pride center, where rainbow flags fluttered like promises kept. But Daniel lingered, a shadow in every bar pickup, every fleeting affair. Lucas threw himself into his studies, interning at the student paper, then landing a gig at the Lawrence Journal World. He wrote features on local heroes, the drag queen running for city council, the veteran advocating for queer rights. It was catharsis, stitching his broken pieces into something whole. Years folded like accordions. The 90s roared in with grunge and AIDS awareness marches. Lucas marched too, sign in hand, chanting for the loves lost to silence and stigma. He dated a professor with a salt and pepper beard who quoted Whitman, a barista named Theo who tattooed Lucas's initials on his ribcage. But none stuck. None were Daniel. In 2003, the call came on a rainy Tuesday. "Your grandmother's poorly," Aunt Clara said, voice tinny over the line. "Cancer. Stage 4. She wants you home, Lucas. Says it's time." He drove the 4 hours to Hayes that night, wipers slapping rhythm like a metronome of dread. The farmhouse hadn't changed. Peeling white paint, the windmill creaking like an old joint. Grandmother lay in the master bedroom, shrunken to bones under quilts she'd pieced herself, her eyes still sharp as shears. "You came," she rasped, hand extended like a truce flag. He took it, skin paper thin. "For closure. Maybe," she chuckled, a wheeze. "Always the writer. Sit. I need you to do something for me." But that was later. First, there were apologies unspoken, glares softened by morphine haze. Lucas slept in his old room, the walls whispering ghosts. And in the drawer of the nightstand, tucked under yellowed linens, he found it. A single letter, unburned, edges frayed from fingering. Daniel's handwriting. "If you ever read this, know I waited. But life's a river, Luke. It moves on." His heart stuttered. "How? Why?" The letter was a relic, dated September 1990, 3 months after Lucas fled to Wichita. Daniel had written it from Camp Lejeune, ink smudged as if by saltwater tears or rifle grease. "They shipped me out tomorrow, Luke. Desert storm. If I don't make it back, remember the creek. Remember us." Lucas traced the words, pulse hammering, the farmhouse air thick with the scent of impending rain and liniment. Grandmother called from downstairs, her voice a fragile summons. He folded the letter carefully, slipping it into his pocket like contraband, and descended the stairs. She was propped on pillows, a tray of weak tea steaming beside her, the will's legal pad already out on the quilt. "You're a wordsmith now," they say. "Big city reporter. Write this for me, boy. Make it right." He sat in the rocker, pen hovering, the irony bitter as chicory. The woman who'd torched his youth now entrusted him with her legacy. The farm to a distant cousin, the heirlooms divvied like poker chips, a bequest to the local church that had shunned him once for unnatural ways. As he scribbled, her stories spilled out, halting confessions of a girlhood in the Dust Bowl, wedding her high school sweetheart in a shotgun ceremony to escape poverty, burying him young to a tractor accident, raising Lucas's father alone with calloused hands and unyielding faith. "I thought I was saving you," she said midway, eyes on the ceiling fan's lazy spin. "From shame. From hellfire. Your mama would have wanted that. She was soft-hearted. Like you." Lucas paused, ink blotting the page. His mother, dead in childbirth, was a saint in sepia photos, her smile a half-remembered lullaby. You destroyed me instead, Gran. Those letters. They were my Bible. She flinched, or maybe it was a cough. I burned others too. His to you. Found M in the mailbox after you left. Thought it was mercy. Mercy. The word hung, a noose or a lifeline. He finished the will in silence. Notarized it the next day with the town lawyer. A paunchy man who clapped Lucas on the back like old pals, oblivious to the chasm. Back home, grandmother slept fitfully, and Lucas wandered the fields, the letter burning a hole in his pocket. That night, he Googled old habit from wire service days. Daniel Hargrove, Hays, Kansas. The results bloomed. A LinkedIn profile for a construction foreman in Denver, married to a woman named Sarah, 2 kids' soccer photos attached. Then, a deeper dig, a 2012 obituary snippet for Sarah's mother, mentioning Daniel as devoted husband and father. No mention of war scars, no hint of the boy by the creek. Lucas slammed the laptop shut, chest tight, the farmhouse walls closing in. Sleep evaded him. Dawn found him on the porch swing, coffee cooling untouched, when the pickup rumbled up the gravel drive. It was Cousin Marty, the farm's would-be heir, broad-shouldered and sunburnt, hopping out with a six-pack and a grin. Heard the old bats kicking it. Figured you'd need backup. Lucas forced a smile. Marty had been the buffer in their youth, the straight cousin who'd covered for creek rendezvous with alibis of fishing trips. Over beers, they talked shop, Marty's divorce, Lucas's string of heartbreaks, the farm's mortgage eating it alive. She burned your stuff. Ha, Marty said, after the third brew. Saw the barrel once, ashes like confetti. Tough old bird. Tough, Lucas echoed, the word a shield. But inside, the letter gnawed. By noon, grandmother rallied enough for lunch, canned soup and saltines, and pulled him aside. There's more. In the attic. Your granddaddy's trunk. He climbed the pull-down stairs, dust motes dancing in the slanted light, the air stale with mothballs and memory. The trunk was locked, key taped beneath. Inside, faded photos, war ration books, and at the bottom, a bundle of letters tied with twine. Not his, not Daniel's. Grandmother's own. From a girl named Ellie in 1942. My dearest D, the nights without you are endless plains. Lucas's breath caught. Ellie, the neighbor girl who'd vanished after Pearl Harbor, rumored to have run off with a city fella, but the letters spoke of dances in barns, hands brushing in the dark, a love coded in quilt patterns and coded glances. His hands shook as he retied the bundle. Grandmother had burned his truths but hoarded her own, a hypocrite's treasure. Downstairs, he confronted her gently, the letters spread on the bed like evidence. Why hide this, if you knew? She turned away, cheeks flushing under the jaundice. Different times. Boy. War took her, typhoid in a factory job out east. I married your granddaddy to forget. But forgetting's a lie we tell ourselves. The admission cracked something in him, not forgiveness, but understanding. Ellie's ghost explained the vigilance, the fear projected onto him like an inherited curse. They talked then, really talked, until dusk painted the room mauve. She wept for the first time, salt tracks on parchment skin, and Lucas held her hand, the pen from the will still ink-stained on his fingers. Word spread in haze like prairie fire. Neighbors trickled in with casseroles and condolences. Mrs. Jenkins from the diner, who'd once refused Daniel's tip for looking funny. Pastor Hale, chastened by decades and a gay son of his own. Lucas played host, the dutiful grandson, but his mind wandered to Denver, to the life Daniel had built without him. On the fourth day, as thunderheads gathered, grandmother slipped into a coma. The hospice nurse arrived, all efficiency and morphine drips, and Lucas sat vigil alone. In the quiet, he penned a letter of his own, not to her, but to Daniel. It's me. The farm's dying, like her. Found your words. Wish I'd found you. He didn't send it. Instead, he burned it in the old barrel out back, watching the flames twist, a ritual reversal. Smoke rose like absolution, and for the first time, he whispered, "Goodbye, Danny." She passed at midnight, the monitor's beeps fading to flatline hum. The funeral was a blur of hymns and handshakes, the church pews packed with faces from his youth. Lucas delivered the eulogy, words polished from years of deadlines. She was flint and steel, sparking us to better or bitter. In the end, she chose grace. Lies and truths mingled, but the crowd nodded, consoled. Afterward, at the graveside, next to Granddaddy's stone, under a sky bruised purple, Marty clapped his shoulder. "Will's read tomorrow." "You good?" "Yeah," Lucas lied, pocketing the unburned letter like a talisman. That night, alone in the farmhouse, he poured bourbon from Granddaddy's dusty bottle and dialed the number from the LinkedIn printout. It rang 4 times before a voice, deeper now, but unmistakable, answered. "Hargrove Residence. Daniel? It's Lucas." From Hayes, silence stretched, electric as a live wire. Then, a breath, ragged. "Holy shit. Luke. How? Long story. But I'm here. At the farm. Can we talk?" Another pause, the sound of a door closing softly. "Sarah's out with the kids." "Yeah." Tomorrow, they met at the creek at dawn, the water low and lazy, willows drooping like weary sentinels. Daniel stepped from his rental SUV, silver threads in his hair, laugh lines etching his storm eyes, a wedding band glinting like accusation. He looked solid, a man forged in sands of Iraq and homefront hearths, but the hug he pulled Lucas into was the same. Fierce, enveloping, creek mud deep. "You look good," Daniel murmured, pulling back, hands lingering on Lucas's arms. "City suits you. You too. Fatherhood. Ha!" Lucas nodded at the photo peeking from Daniel's wallet. 2 gap-toothed kids. A golden retriever. Daniel's smile faltered. "It's steady. After the war, I needed steady. Letters came back undelivered. Thought you'd moved on. I tried." They walked the bank, feet crunching gravel, the air humming with cicadas' requiem. Daniel spoke of deployments, ID close calls, the VA therapy that unearthed the boy he'd buried. "Came out to Sarah last year. She's sticking for the kids. But it's not us." Lucas's throat tightened. Gran burned everything. Confessed before she died. Even had her own secret. Daniel stopped, eyes widening. "The old witch? Damn." Laughter bubbled, cathartic, and they sat on a fallen log, shoulders brushing, the contact a spark to dry tinder. Hours passed in confessions. Lucas's career highs, Pulitzers for investigative pieces on Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal, The lows, like Theo's overdose in '09, a ghost of AIDS-era losses. Daniel admitted the marriage was armor, donned after a Dear John from a brief affair in the Corps. I searched for you online once. Saw your byline. Almost called. Why didn't you? Fear, I guess, of what we'd become. The sun climbed, gilding the water, and when Daniel's hand found Lucas's, it fit like it never left. They kissed then, slow, exploratory, tasting of lost decades and reclaimed hope. No promises, just presence, the creek murmuring approval. But betrayal lurked, a shadow in the will's fine print. At the reading next morning, in the lawyer's stuffy office, Cousin Marty's face darkened as the bequest unfolded. The farm not to him, but to Lucas with a codicil. In trust for the preservation of family land, to be shared with those who honor its roots. Grandmother's hand, shaky but deliberate, had added, and to Daniel Hargrove, if he claims it, as amends for what was burned. Marty exploded. What the hell? She promised me, that queer kid and his boyfriend? This is bullshit. The room froze, the lawyer sputtering, but Lucas stood, voice steady. It's her will, Marty. Grace, remember. Daniel, who'd arrived unannounced, squeezed Lucas's knee under the table. We'll honor it. Together. Betrayal's sting hit Marty hard. He'd known, suspected grandmother's softness toward the end, but coveted the land like a birthright. He stormed out, vowing lawsuits, but the will held ironclad. Whispers rippled through haze, the farm to the gay grandson and his soldier beau. Scandal, or absolution, the lawsuit dragged into fall, leaves turning the Kansas fields to fire as Marty's attorney. A slick Wichita firm filed claims of undue influence, incapacity, the works. Lucas and Daniel hunkered down at the farmhouse, turning the guest room into a war HQ. Legal pads strewn with case law printouts, coffee rings staining the oak table like bullet holes. Daniel, between Denver commutes, brought takeout from Hayes' Lone Tie Place, his presence a balm against the chill seeping through cracked windows. Nights were theirs, tentative explorations in the double bed upstairs. Daniel's body had hardened, scars from shrapnel mapping his thigh like constellation points, but his touch was reverent, relearning curves and hollows. Missed this, he'd whisper, lips trailing Lucas's collarbone. The words a bridge over 25 years. Lucas arched into him, gasps echoing off wallpaper faded to whispers. But dawn brought reality. Voicemails from Sarah, logistical and laced with quiet pain. The kids ask about you, Dan. When are you coming home? Guilt nod. Lucas buried it in work, filing motions, interviewing character witnesses like Pastor Hale, who testified to grandmother's lucid final days. She found peace, he said on the stand, Bible in lap. Asked forgiveness for past sins. The jury, a mix of farmers and teachers, faces etched with prairie endurance, listened, but Marty's camp painted Lucas as the prodigal manipulator, swooping in for inheritance like a vulture in rainbow feathers. Climax brewed on a sleety November morning, court in session, the wooden benches creaking under restless shifts. Marty took the stand, voice booming with rehearsed righteous. She was delirious. That boy, Lucas, he poisoned her with his lifestyle talk. And bringing in his partner, it's a farce. Daniel, in the gallery, gripped Lucas's hand till knuckles blanched. Then the bailiff called him forward, surprise witness for the defense. He strode up, uniform pressed from his reserve days, chest puffed with quiet steel. Objection, the lawyer interjected, but the judge waved it off. Curiosity piqued. Mr. Hargrove, Lucas's attorney began. You knew Eleanor McAllister well? Daniel nodded, eyes locking on Marty's. Since I was knee-high. She taught me to drive her old Plymouth, back when I fixed tractors for pocket money. Tough as nails, but fair. And the letters? The attorney pressed, holding up a photocopy from the attic trove. Grandmother's to Ellie, entered as exhibit. Daniel's jaw tightened. Heard rumors. But she never judged me for who I loved. Even when others did. His voice cracked on the last, gaze sweeping the room. I served this country 2 tours, Purple Heart. Lost buddies to worse than prejudice. Eleanor's will is her fighting back against the hate she carried too long. The courtroom hushed, then murmured. Marty shifted, sweat beading despite the draft. Cross-examination turned brutal. So, Mr. Hargrove, you're in a sham marriage now? Using this for a payout? Daniel leaned into the mic, unflinching. My marriage is real as any, flawed, human. But my love for Lucas, that's the truth she honored. And yeah, I'll claim my share. Not for land, but for the boy she tried to erase. Gasps rippled. The judge banged gavel. Recess called, but the damage was seismic. Jurors whispered of their own secrets, closeted uncles, estranged kin. By verdict next week, the swung, will upheld, farm intact. Marty slunk away, tail between legs, selling his grudge to barstool rants. Victory tasted bittersweet. Daniel stayed through Christmas, stringing lights on the sagging porch, teaching Lucas to fry turkey like his ma used to. They hosted a New Year's bonfire, neighbors invited, tentative bridges over old divides. Mrs. Jenkins brought pie, blushing an apology for '89 diner snub. Even Pastor Hale raised a toast to new chapters, but betrayal's echo lingered in Daniel's silences. One snow-dusted night, postcoital glow fading, he confessed by the fireplace. Sarah knows everything. Filed papers last month. Kids are adjusting. But I lied, Luke, about waiting. There was someone, 98, in Fallujah. Corpseman. We didn't make it. Lucas pulled him close, tears salting their skin. You lived. That's enough. Spring thawed the ground, and with it, decisions. Lucas, on sabbatical from the journal world, proposed they restore the farm, not as museum, but community hub, queer youth retreats, veteran support gardens, a nod to grandmother's quilts now hung in the barn as art. Daniel, divorcing amicably, relocated full-time, his construction crew framing a bunkhouse by May. Romance bloomed in the mundane. Dawn coffees on the porch, Daniel's calloused hand in Lucas's as they planted heirloom tomatoes. Evenings with vinyl spinning Johnny Cash, bodies swaying slow. Deep emotions surfaced in unguarded moments. Daniel weeping over a faded photo of his platoon. Lucas reading aloud from grandmother's letters, voice thick. Ellie would have loved this, he'd say, and Daniel would nod. She loved fierce. Like us. Yet conflict simmered. Hay's underbelly churned, graffiti on the mailbox, Sodom Farm, tires slashed on Daniel's truck. A church splinter group picketed the gate, signs wailing repent or perish. Lucas wanted to fight ink with ink, a series exposing small-town hypocrisy, but Daniel urged caution. We've won the land. Don't lose the peace. The real fracture hit in July. Heat wave shimmering the horizon like a mirage. Daniel's ex called emergency custody hearing. Sarah claiming instability from the scandalous move. They drove to Denver overnight. Lucas in tow as moral support. But the courtroom stripped them bare. Sarah, composed in pearls, testified, "He's chasing ghosts. Our boys need a father, not a farm fantasy." Daniel crumbled on the stand, recounting deployments, therapy logs, his commitment. But the judge, stern as granite, leaned toward shared custody, weekends only, supervised at first. Stability first, Mr. Hargrove. Your lifestyle changes weigh heavy. Outside, rain lashing the courthouse steps. Daniel punched the wall, knuckles blooming red. Lifestyle? After all this, Lucas bandaged him in the truck. Silent drive back a chasm. At the farm, words erupted like thunder. "This is why I enlisted. Escape. And now, for what? A will's whim," Daniel roared, pacing the kitchen. Lucas fired back, hurt sharpening his tone. "For us, for the life she denied. Or was that just pity kisses?" Daniel stopped, face crumpling. "Never pity. But God. Luke, the cost. My boys." They parted furious. Daniel to the bunkhouse, Lucas to the main house, door slamming like 89. Dawn found them on the porch, apologies in coffee mugs. "I can't lose you again," Lucas said, voice raw. "Nor I," Daniel replied, pulling him into the rocker. "But we build slow. For them. For us." Humanity crept in, therapy sessions via Zoom with a VA counselor versed in queer vets. Family weekends where Lucas met the boys, timid at first, then enchanted by creek fishing, calling him Uncle Luke by August. Sarah softened too, over shared playground chats, admitting her own college experiments tucked away. By harvest, the farm thrummed. First retreat group arrived. Teens from Topeka, wide-eyed and wounded, sharing stories under starlit bonfires. Daniel led carpentry workshops, hammers ringing like bells. Lucas facilitated writing circles, pages filling with unburned truths. One evening, as combines droned distant, they scattered grandmother's ashes by the creek, urn emptied in a silver arc, mingling with the current. To Ellie, Daniel toasted with creek water in mason jars. To second chances, Lucas nodded, arm around Daniel's waist, the water carrying her forward. Betrayal's ashes had fertilized this ground, and from it, love rooted deep, flawed, fierce, profoundly American in its stubborn bloom. Autumn deepened, the farm's first harvest festival a tentative triumph. Hayrides winding through pumpkin patches, cider steaming from vats, rainbow banners fluttering defiantly against the amber sky. Lucas manned the storytelling tent, voice weaving grandmother's dust bowl tales with queer twists, Ellie's coded letters as underground lore. Kids giggled at the secret messages, oblivious to the layers, while adults lingered, nodding recognition. Daniel, ever the handyman, fixed a sagging fence mid-event, sweat-sheened and grinning, his boys chasing fireflies nearby with the retreat teens. Success masked undercurrents. Marty's grudge festered. Anonymous tips to the local paper alleged moral decay on the property, forcing Lucas into damage control op-eds. "Legacy isn't land," he wrote. "It's the loves we leave unburned." Circulation spiked, but hate mail piled. Envelope stuffed with Bible verses, 1/tire bearing Leviticus 20 verse 13 in marker. Deeper still, emotions churned. Daniel's custody battles escalated. Sarah, remarried to a banker with political pull, pushed for full custody, citing the farm's unstable environment. Court dates loomed like storm fronts. Daniel's sleep fractured by nightmares of desert sands and courtroom gavels. Lucas held him through them, murmuring affirmations, but doubt crept. Was this resurrection worth the resurrection of old wounds? Climax crested on a frost-kissed November eve, the festival's echo fading as snow dusted the fields. Daniel returned from Denver late, face ashen, court papers crumpled in his fist. She won temporary full. Boys with her till spring review. Said the farm's a den of sin, had affidavits from church folks. Lucas's stomach dropped. Will appeal. Fight. No. Daniel's voice broke, shoulders slumping against the doorframe. I'm done fighting. For once, the words ignited tinder. Done? After everything? The will? The restorations? This is our life. Daniel's eyes flashed. Our life? Yours? Maybe. I gave up Sarah, my home, for ghosts and grudges. The boys. They need normal, Luke. Not headlines. Normal, Lucas hurled, voice echoing off beams. You think I asked for burned letters? For decades alone? This is normal, messy. Human. Daniel advanced, inches apart, breath mingling hot. Human? You're romanticizing pain. Gran's betrayal was hers. Don't make it ours. He grabbed Lucas's shirt. Pull or push unclear. Then released. Deflating. I love you. God, I do. But love ain't enough when it costs them. Silence swallowed the room, thick as blizzard whiteout. Daniel retreated to the bunkhouse. Lucas wandered the dark fields, boots crunching frost, tears freezing on lashes. Betrayal reversed. Not grandmother's fire, but life's relentless burn, charring their fragile rebuild. Dawn brought fragile truce. Daniel found Lucas by the creek, thermos of coffee in hand. Didn't sleep, he admitted, settling on the log. Called Sarah. Told her the truth about us from the start. Lucas's heart stuttered. And she's processing. But the boys asked for you. Drew pictures of the farm with us all. He pulled a crayon sketch from his jacket. Stick figure family. Lucas's hair a wild yellow scribble. Daniel's uniform purple starred. They talked then, raw and unfiltered. Daniel's wore guilt. The corpseman lost to friendly fire. Lucas's fear of abandonment, rooted in that midnight flight. I ran once, Lucas whispered. Won't again. Daniel nodded, hand over heart. Then we adapt. Co-parenting, weekends in Denver. The farm as haven, not home yet, relief flooded, mingled with ache. They drove to Wichita that weekend, meeting Sarah at a neutral park. She was poised, guarded, but her handshake firm. For the boys, she said, eyes flicking to their linked hands. Over hot chocolate, the kids tumbled between them, 8-year-old Jake quizzing Lucas on journalism. Do you catch bad guys? 5-year-old Mia braiding Daniel's hair with sticky fingers. It wasn't seamless. Holiday swaps bred tension. Thanksgiving at the farm. Christmas in Denver. New Year's a solo toast for Lucas by the fire. But romance endured in stolen pockets. Midnight drives to Lawrence for drag shows, where Daniel two-stepped awkwardly to Dolly Parton. Quiet anniversaries marking the creek kiss, with pie from Mrs. Jenkins and Ellie's letters read aloud. Humanism wove through. The farm's retreats expanded, partnering with KU for scholarships, queer vets like Daniel mentoring, sharing sand-scoured stories. One guest, a trans kid from rural Nebraska, gifted Lucas a quilt square. Flames encircling intertwined hands, embroidered rise. Spring 2026 bloomed tentative. Custody review favored Daniel, progress notes from therapy. The boys' glowing reports, Uncle Luke's farm has magic rocks. Shared weeks solidified. Family dinners with Sarah's awkward inclusion evolving to potlucks. Betrayal scars faded to silver. Marty's lawsuit dismissed for lack of evidence. His bar rants tapering to sheepish waves at the co-op. Yet emotions depth tested in July heat. Daniel's PTSD flaring on the anniversary of his corpseman's death. He vanished to the barn, hammering nails till blisters burst. Lucas finding him curled amid sawdust. He was like you, Daniel sobbed. Soft words in hell. Lucas held him, rocking, until words failed and touch sufficed. Slow lovemaking on a blanket, bodies mapping forgiveness. Deeper still, Lucas confronted his own ghosts. A Journal World assignment took him to D.C. for Pride, interviewing repeal architects. Returning, he penned a memoir excerpt, Ashes to Arbors, sent to Daniel first. Read it. Tell me if it's too raw. Daniel did. Red pen gentle. It's us. Publish. Fall brought harvest again. Fuller now. Boys helping thresh wheat. Sarah joining for pie baking. Her laughter surprising. One dusk, as combines hummed, Daniel pulled Lucas aside by the willow. Marry me? Not for show for us. Here, where it started. Lucas's yes was a sob. Ring a simple band forged from farm scrap. Ironic. Enduring. Wedding was small. Creekside vows under rainbow quilt canopy. Pastor Hale officiating with amended scripture. Love bears all. Boys scattering petals. Sarah toasting with cider. But humanity's edge glinted. A letter arrived post-ceremony. From Ellie's niece, long-lost kin unearthed via ancestry site. Auntie spoke of a farm girl who broke her heart. Sounds like your gran. Enclosed, her locket, with a photo. For closure. Inside. Grandmother and Ellie. Arms linked at a 41 fair. Smiles defiant. Lucas hung it in the farmhouse hall. Beside their marriage license, a lineage of loves unburned. Winter wrapped them, snow blanketing sins. Daniel's full custody restored by Yule. The boys claiming rooms upstairs. Lucas, promoted to editor, balanced deadlines with bedtime stories. Romance simmered domestic. Shared baths scented sage from the garden. Lazy Sundays with crosswords and coffee. One starlit night, boys Abed. They danced in the kitchen to Springsteen. Daniel's cheek on Lucas's shoulder. Whisper warm. Worth every flame. Yes. Lucas breathed. Spinning him. Every one. The years unspooled like quilt threads. Weaving the farm into legend. By 2030, Haven Acres drew national press. NPR spots on queer agrotourism. A Sundance doc tracing grandmother's arc from arson to atonement. Lucas's memoir hit shelves. Bestseller in LGBTQ plus lit. Proceeds funding expansion. A solar-powered bunkhouse. Therapy gardens blooming lavender for vet calm. Daniel, graying gracefully, led workshops nationwide. His TEDx talk, from foxholes to fields viral. Boys in the front row beaming. Family deepened roots. Jake, lanky teen now, came out as by junior year. Daniel's hug fierce as creek promises. Mia, Artist inclined. Sketched Ellie's portrait for the hall. Silver locket her muse. Sarah remarried fully. A pediatrician with gentle eyes. Blending Thanksgivings where toasts honored chosen kin. Betrayal's ghost. Footnote. Invoked in stories to teach resilience. Gran burned to build. Unwittingly. Conflict resurfaced subtly. Life's way. In 2032, a drought scorched the plains. Mortgage looming like Marty's old grudge. Daniel, ever pragmatic, suggested selling parcels. Lucas resisted, vision clashing with viability. Arguments flared kitchen hot. This ain't romance, it's survival. Daniel snapped. Maps unrolled like battle plans. Lucas countered. Voice edged. Survival without soul? That's what she taught me to fight. Stalemate broke at dawn. Creekside mediation self-imposed. With coffee and candor. We're partners, Daniel conceded. Hand in Lucas's. Hybrid it is. Lease edges to wind farm. Keep core sacred. Compromise bore fruit. Literally, as agro-co-op grants greened the fields. Emotions' tides swelled in quieter currents. Daniel's 60th, a surprise barn dance, unearthed his corpsman letters, shared publicly, cathartic as confession. Lucas read one aloud, voice steady. You were my light in the storm. Tears flowed free. Guests toasting to lights unextinguished. Lucas's own vulnerability peaked in 34. A routine check revealing early Parkinson's, tremors in his typing fingers, legacy's cruel echo. Daniel adapted seamless. Voice-to-text setups. Adaptive gardens where Lucas directed from a porch swing. You're still the writer, Daniel teased, massaging knotted hands. I'm just the editor now. The boys rallied Jake, journalism major at KU, co-authoring Lucas's columns. Mia, illustrating a children's book on family fires. Tales of loves that warm, not destroy. Sarah coordinated meds. Her presence a quiet alliance forged in shared vigilance. Romance, ever the anchor, evolved tender. Anniversaries marked not dates, but milestones. 40 years since the burn. Celebrated with a bonfire of blank pages, symbolic pyre for what-ifs. Followed by lovemaking under willows, bodies slower but synced. Aging's just more story, Lucas murmured. Daniel's laugh rumbling chest deep. Humanism crowned the arc in 2040. Grandmother's centennial. The farm hosted a symposium. Historians on Dust Bowl queerness. Descendants of Ellie sharing oral lore. A quilt collective unveiled. Threads of flame. Panels from retreat alums. Central Square grandmother's burning barrel. Embroidered doves rising. Lucas keynote. Cane tapping rhythm. She torched my youth. But from ashes, we grew. Not despite her, because of her. Love's the ultimate will. Rewriting us all. Daniel, beside him, squeezed his elbow, signal for the surprise. From the crowd stepped a woman. 70s elegant. Marty's daughter. Long estranged. Grandma talked of you, she said. Envelope extended. Her last words to him, tell Lucas I was wrong. Make it right. Inside. Deed to Marty's old plot. Gifted back full circle. Tears welled as they embraced. Old feuds fertilizing peace. The night ended in feast. Potluck sprawl. Fiddles wailing. Generations dancing under harvest moon. Jake proposed to his partner by the creek. Ring glinting like Daniel's old band. Mia debuted her exhibit, walls alive with color. Later, Abed with windows open to cricket chorus. Lucas traced Daniel's wrinkles, maps of joy and grit. Think she knows? He whispered. Daniel smiled. Sleep soft. Ellie's got her now. Quilting heaven. Decades' weight settled gentle. A blanket of grace. The farm endured. Not as monument, but living testament. Conflicts resolved in compromise. Betrayals transmuted to bridges. Emotions layered like soil, rich, resilient. Lucas's final column. Pen shaky but sure. Closed. In America's heartland, where winds whisper secrets, we learned love isn't unburned letters. It's the stories we dare to rewrite, one forgiving flame at a time. And in the quiet after, with Daniel's snores a lullaby, Lucas dreamed of the creek, not as lost youth, but eternal waters carrying them forward, together, into the vast, humanistic dawn.